Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Rohde with AskTheLawyers.com, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Today, we're talking about tire blowouts causing serious accidents, and our guest is Stewart Eisenberg. He is a shareholder of the Philadelphia law firm Eisenberg, Rothwilder, Winkler, Eisenberg, and Jeck. Thank you so much, Stewart, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I want to talk about these tire blowouts and what would be the first considerations you as a lawyer would look at when a tire blowout like this causes an accident?
Well, there's a number of reasons that a tire could blow out on the highway. Obviously, the first thing that people think of is, going over a pothole or having a nail in your tire and the tire just blows out. In those instances, there's generally nothing that somebody can do legally because those things just happen. If a tire just blows out, it's just an unfortunate happenstance, and it happens all the time. The kinds of tire blowouts that we deal with that are the result of someone making a bad tire or having a bad tire is what's called a D-tread. And a D-tread is when the tire tread actually comes off the tire. And in those instances, you really find that there's something wrong with the tire in most cases. So that's the first thing you look at. What kind of tire blowout is this? And that's just one of the considerations you look to when you're analyzing an accident when a tire blowout is involved.
So when you're looking at something like that, you mentioned some of the cases, is the manufacturer of that tire responsible in most cases?
Well, that's the first thing you look at, who made the tire. And today, there are only a few manufacturers that actually make tires. So you initially, when we do this kind of work, it's very detailed and very involved. So we make sure we have the vehicle that was involved in the accident. If someone was driving their car and their tire blew out, we make sure we have both the vehicle and the tire. Most times the tire remains on the car, and we can look at the entire accident and the entire vehicle, including the tire. So the first thing we do is we get the tire, we see who manufactured it, who is the manufacturer, and we do some research about this particular tire, about these tires in general. Was it a tire on a passenger car? Was it a tire on a truck? Was it a tire on a van? All those things are important to identify the manufacturer of the tire. So it's not always are they responsible, but we find out who made it and what kind of tire blowout was it. And if it's a D-tread, generally, when the tread comes off, there's something wrong with the tire. Either it was made wrong, it was made improperly, the component parts, the various materials were not strong enough, or the tire was too old, and it was being used in a way that was not appropriate. It should have been taken off and out of service, should have been taken off the car. So there's lots of different considerations, and each case is dealt with individually and separately, and we look at a lot of different aspects when a tire blows out. And we're representing a family who either has lost a loved one or whose loved one has been seriously injured.
Yeah, each of those cases definitely has a personal impact, and I know you've worked with many of those families. Do you mind sharing with us just some general things about the cases that you've worked with and maybe an outcome of a case?
Well, what comes to mind is one of the first cases we handled, first tire cases a while back, was involving a whole family. The mother was driving. She was driving a minivan, and all of a sudden the tire blew out, and in the car was her daughter in the front seat and two grandchildren in the back seat. And she was unable to control the car. It went off the highway. It went down a hill or into a ravine, and was a terrible, terrible accident. It hit a tree on the way down, and the grandmother was killed. The daughter lived, but both children were killed in the back seat. So that was a tragedy of a family that destroyed basically half of the family. And we investigated the case on behalf of the husband of the grandmother, and we looked at all aspects of the case, and we focused in on why did the tire blow out. And it happened to be that this was an old tire, but there were no warnings about tires as they age become brittle, and there was no ability for the owner of this car, who happened to be the husband, to look at this tire and see that there was anything wrong. The treads were good, the tire looked good, and it just was not a new tire and not an intact tire, and it was just a tragedy waiting to happen. And unfortunately, there are many tires out there on the road today that have no warning, they have no expiration date. We like to say that tires should have an expiration date, just like milk does, or yogurt does, or any product you buy in the supermarket today has an expiration date. What would it take for a tire company to put on the side of the tire when you should take the tire out of service? And that's something that is very important to keep in mind when you have a tire blowout.
So what does someone do? What should people watching this do if they're not sure about the tires on their vehicle now? Anything they can do to make sure to try to prevent a blowout?
Well, there are codes on the tire, and if you take the tire into a dealership or a service facility of some kind, they should be able to tell you how old the tire is. And the general rule of thumb is a tire should come out of service when it's 6 or 7 years old. So nobody should be riding on a tire that's more than 6 or 7 years old. There is a very important thing that happens to a tire, and something that you should keep in mind. A tire tread is sort of like a rubber band. So that, if a rubber band gets old and you can't really see the degradation in the rubber, but if you pull on it and you stretch it, it will rip. It will tear in half. You don't really know it until it actually happens. So you can look at a tire and not really know how dangerous it is on the highway. So that's the first thing. You could look at the serial number or the identification number that it has on the side wheel. Most people don't understand what the numbers mean, but if you take it into the dealership, and if you can find someone that really knows tires, and everyone should know it at the dealership or at the service station, then they should be able to tell you, is this tire 10 years old? Is it 3 years old? That's, of course, if you haven't bought the tire right in the beginning and have a new car, then of course you know how old the tire is, and you should take it out of service in 6 or 7 years. 7 years at the maximum, and then it should be replaced.
Good advice, that 7 years. And also getting some help, asking somebody for help, that's good. What about insurance? I'm wondering, so if my tire does blow out, does my regular car insurance cover this?
Well, car insurance covers any property damage that happens in the course of an accident, but it certainly doesn't cover any injuries that result from a bad tire. So yes, it's important to have insurance, but insurance will be good to replace the tire, or to replace the car if it's totaled, or to repair the car if it's not totaled. But generally, insurance doesn't help you if someone is killed or injured in a tire accident.
Thank you so much for all this advice. I want to give you the chance again. If there's one or two things that you think people watching this ought to do to make sure their tires are safe out there on the roads, what should they do?
One other thing that we didn't mention is when tires are replaced on your car. When you go in and you have a blowout and you go into a tire place and say, I need new tires. The new tires should always be placed on the rear of your car. Never put new tires on the front of your car unless you're replacing all 4 tires. If you're replacing 1 or 2 tires, make sure they go on the rear, because if you don't, those tires are susceptible to hydroplaning, so that a car can swerve in the highway, in water, on an icy road, in a snowy road. It can fishtail out and cause a terrible accident. We've had a number of cases where tires are put on the front for no good reason, and the driver, the owner of the car, most times doesn't know that they shouldn't put tires on the front. Put new tires on the rear. That's one thing that I would encourage everyone to remember, keep in mind, and also make sure you know how old your tires are. And of course, make sure that your tires are well inflated, not overinflated, but inflated with enough air that they are compliant, or they match what the manufacturer has on the side of your car, the pounds per square inch, the PSI, on the tires will tell you how high to inflate your tires and not to inflate them higher and not to inflate them lower. Just make sure they're just right.
Some potentially life-saving information and advice there. Stewart Eisenberg, thank you so much for all of that information.
Thank you.
We thank all of you for watching today. This has been another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the icon there on the bottom of the screen so you will not miss another episode of Ask the Lawyers. This is AskTheLawyers.com, where you can choose a lawyer that lawyers choose.